What happens when the world keeps asking questions and the stars keep us guessing? In this episode of Rainbow Spotlight, we're diving into 5 young male celebrities who've sparked endless speculation. Not because they've made any big announcements, but because their energy, style, and connections have the internet whispering maybe. From soft masculinity to queer-coded roles and red carpet moments that set gay Twitter on fire, these 5 aren't out, at least not officially. But fans can't stop wondering. We're not here to label anyone. We're here to celebrate curiosity, read between the lines, and spotlight the moments that made us all go, wait, hold on. Think someone on this list is quietly living their truth? Type VIBE in the comments if you love a good soft launch mystery. Charles Melton, the heartthrob who's mastered the art of quiet mystery. Charles Melton doesn't need to say much to get people talking. With that soft stare, leading man charm, and disarmingly gentle energy, he's made an entire generation of fans lean in and whisper the same question. Wait, is he? He rose to fame as Reggie in Riverdale, a show soaked in teen drama and queer energy. But unlike many of his co-stars, Charles never chased the spotlight. While others played up their press personas, Charles stayed low-key, almost enigmatic. And maybe that's what made him even more intriguing. Over the years, his fashion choices have leaned softly androgynous. Think turtlenecks, soft knits, and a vulnerability in red carpet photos that's rare in Hollywood's hyper-masculine landscape. He wasn't loud about anything, but something about the way he moved through fame always felt different. What truly shifted things, though, was May-December. His performance in the 2023 film stunned critics, not just for its complexity, but for how Charles fully stepped into a role that required emotional nuance, sexual ambiguity, and intense vulnerability. Suddenly, he wasn't just the hot guy from Riverdale. He was something deeper, and fans noticed. Then came the photos. Candid shots with male friends that had fans zooming in just a little too hard. Stylized editorial spreads that gave fashion twink with secrets energy. A lack of any recent public relationships and a silence on the topic that only added fuel to the fire. Was it anything definitive? Number. But in the world of queer-coded celebrity culture, it was enough to start a conversation. And the LGBTQ+ internet did not hold back. TikTok edits, Twitter threads, Reddit theories. Charles Melton slowly became a soft obsession, not because he came out, but because he didn't. Because in every choice, every look, every role, there's just enough to wonder and enough to hope. But maybe the most beautiful part of Charles's mystery is that he's never pushed back, never made jokes at queer fans' expense, never shut the conversation down. He simply lets people feel what they feel. And for many in the LGBTQ+ community, that unspoken respect means everything. Whether he ever says anything or not, Charles Melton has become a symbol of possibility. That queerness doesn't always have to be declared. That ambiguity can be soft. That silence can be sacred. Think Charles is quietly rewriting what it means to be a heartthrob in 2025? Type SOFT in the comments if you love when a mystery feels a little too beautiful to solve. Michael Cimino, the teen idol who walked into queer fame and stayed. When Michael Cimino first stepped into the spotlight as Victor Salazar on Love, Victor, fans assumed he was just another young actor playing a gay character. But what no one expected was just how naturally he'd fit into queer culture, both on and off screen. He wasn't gay, he said, but he supported the community, deeply, authentically. And he wanted to tell Victor's story with empathy and truth. His performance was raw, emotional, sometimes awkward, sometimes brave. Just like the coming out stories of so many LGBTQ+ viewers watching at home. And queer fans didn't just appreciate him, they embraced him. What followed wasn't your typical straight actor once and done. Michael didn't move on from queer content. He leaned in. He kept showing up at Pride events. He kept saying yes to interviews that explored masculinity, fluidity, and emotional vulnerability. He stayed close to the fan base, not for clout, but with a kind of quiet sincerity that made people feel like he got it. And that's when the speculation started to shift. Not because Michael said something, but because of how much he didn't say. He often talked about understanding both sides of attraction. He wore clothing with just the right amount of softness. His Instagram felt like it had been curated by someone who knew exactly what gay TikTok wanted. And the roles he took, still queer adjacent, still emotionally tender, still lingering. Fans noticed, and they started to wonder, was this just a good ally or someone writing their own quiet story? But Michael never pulled the usual PR moves. No performative girlfriend posts, no reactive statements to the rumors, no shutting the door. He just let people talk, let queer kids project, let fans find hope in his silence. In a time where coming out can be a press cycle or a viral headline, Michael Cimino's mystery feels different. It feels gentle, patient, intentional, like he's crafting something slower, something that doesn't need labels to resonate. The truth is, no one knows what Michael Cimino identifies as. And maybe that's the point. Because for so many fans watching him, young, queer, unsure, he's already done what matters, made them feel seen, safe, and celebrated. Whether he ever says the words or not, Michael has become something rare, a soft icon for a generation that doesn't need hard definitions to feel deeply connected. Think Michael's queer-coded energy speaks louder than words? Type LIMINAL in the comments if you love a star who lives in the space between. Gavin Leatherwood, the pretty boy with a private life and a queer fan base. If Hollywood had a checklist for queer-coded heartthrobs, Gavin Leatherwood would check every box, twice. Brooding stare? Check. Ambiguous fashion sense? Absolutely. Roles that flirt with queerness without fully crossing the line? You already know. But here's the thing. Gavin never had to try. He just appeared on screen in Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, raised an eyebrow, smirked at the camera, and suddenly, gay Twitter claimed him. No debate, no discussion, just vibes. He was theirs. On the show, his character, Nicholas Scratch, had just the right amount of fluid energy. Flirty, mysterious, and dangerously charming. But it wasn't just the role, it was Gavin himself. How he carried it, how he smiled in interviews, how he seemed just slightly out of reach, like he was in on a secret no one else could quite decode. And outside the show, Gavin kept that mystique alive. He shared just enough on social media to stay relevant, but never too much. No loud declarations, no girlfriend reveals, no clickbait relationships, just dreamy black and white photos, the occasional guitar strum, and captions that could be interpreted however you wanted, which of course only made people want to interpret them more. The fan edits came fast, the TikTok thirst traps, the he's giving queer threads. People weren't just watching, they were decoding. Was that nail polish for fun or for something more? Was that gaze a pose or a message? Was that lyric a hint? Gavin never confirmed anything. He also never denied anything. And that silence, it became part of the story. What set him apart, though, was how gently he held space for it all. He never mocked the speculation, never made fans feel silly for reading into things. Instead, he leaned into softness, into fashion, into intimacy. And in a landscape filled with carefully constructed PR masks, Gavin's quiet ambiguity felt real and deeply magnetic. In 2025, his name still pops up in "Is he or isn't he?" threads. But at this point, it's less about the label and more about the feeling. Gavin represents a kind of modern masculinity that resonates with queer fans. Warm, emotional, expressive, but never overly explained. He exists in that sweet in-between. And maybe that's exactly where he wants to stay. Whether he ever defines himself or not, Gavin Leatherwood has already offered the queer community something valuable. Permission to be unreadable. To be soft without labels. To wear a little eyeliner and still be taken seriously. To be adored. Just as you are. Think Gavin is perfectly queer-coded without ever saying a word? Type Enigma in the comments if you live for the ones who don't need to explain a thing. Rudy Pankow, the laid-back star who's got everyone reading between the waves. There's something about Rudy Pankow that makes you lean in just a little closer. Maybe it's the messy blonde hair, maybe it's the easygoing smile, or maybe, just maybe, it's the way he carries himself like someone who's in on a secret he's not quite ready to share. Rudy burst into pop culture consciousness with Outer Banks playing JJ, the wild, impulsive, loyal-to-the-core surfer kid with a heart full of chaos. And almost instantly, the queer community zeroed in on him, not just for the role, but for the energy he gave off. Playful, tender, emotionally charged, and undeniably watchable. It wasn't just that JJ felt queer-coded, although he very much did. It was that Rudy embodied him with such intensity. Those longing stares, that reckless loyalty, the way he threw his whole soul into scenes with the other Pogues. Fans didn't just ship characters, they shipped vibes. Outside the show, Rudy kept things just as open-ended. He's charming in interviews, close with his male co-stars, and has a social media presence that's somehow both chaotic and curated. Sometimes he posts goofy behind-the-scenes videos. Other times, poetic captions, soft lighting. Shirts unbuttoned just enough to make queer TikTok whisper, "Sir." He's never made a big statement, never labeled himself, never felt the need to clarify. But that's exactly why fans keep wondering. Because Rudy doesn't push back on the speculation. He doesn't perform masculinity the way many young male celebs are told to. He just vibes and lets the rest unfold. In a world where coming out is often monetized or performative, Rudy's ambiguity feels different. Honest, comfortable, like someone who's still figuring things out, or maybe already knows and simply doesn't owe anyone an explanation. And let's talk about the fashion. Because Rudy Pankow might be the only Gen Z heartthrob who can walk a red carpet in nail polish and a crocheted cardigan and make it look like the hottest trend in town, without ever saying a word. He doesn't scream queer. He just feels like he could be part of the family, or at least deeply loved by it. It's not about outing. It's not about pressure. It's about presence. And Rudy's presence has created a soft, surfer-shaped space where queer fans can project, dream, and maybe see a bit of themselves. Whether he ever says it out loud or not, Rudy Pankow has become a modern-day icon of emotional openness. And in 2025, that matters more than any label ever could. Think Rudy's chill, cozy chaos is exactly the kind of queer-coded energy we need more of? Type drift in the comments if you live for stars who keep us floating in curiosity. Mason Gooding, the Scream King, with a soft spot for the gays. There's a reason Mason Gooding keeps landing roles that make the internet collectively gasp. He's charming, he's funny, he's way too good looking. But beneath the Hollywood son of Cuba Gooding Jr. spotlight, there's something else happening, and something softer, quieter, and very queer-friendly. Let's rewind. Mason's big break came with Booksmart and Love, Victor, where he played Andrew, the cocky jock with emotional depth and the slowest, most satisfying character arc in the series. While he wasn't the central queer character, he was deeply connected to one, and he handled it with nuance, respect, and surprising warmth. Unlike many actors in his position, Mason didn't just show up, deliver lines, and clock out. He engaged. He promoted the show with sensitivity. He spoke openly about the importance of LGBTQ+ representation. And when asked about his own identity, he smiled, nodded, and said he was happy to be part of a story that mattered. It wasn't a yes. It wasn't a no. It was open. And queer fans? Oh, they noticed. Fast. Soon, TikTok was flooded with edits. Twitter threads went deep. People pulled receipts from interviews, red carpets, and panels where Mason would sit just a little too close, compliment his male co-stars just a little too smoothly, and rock a painted nail or a gold chain like he knew exactly who was watching. He's never made a spectacle of it, never posted a rainbow emoji for likes, but his vibe, It's there. The soft jawline, the thoughtful gaze, the unbothered confidence of someone who's entirely comfortable letting you wonder. Even in Scream 6, where he stepped into full slasher star territory, Mason played the tough guy with a knowing wink, as if to say, I know I'm the internet's bisexual boyfriend, and I'm fine with that. What makes Mason especially magnetic to LGBTQ+ fans isn't just his looks, though, let's be honest. It's his intelligence, his openness, and his refusal to box himself in. He talks about mental health, he praises queer artists, he chooses roles that live in emotional complexity, and he never once makes queer speculation feel like an attack. In a media landscape that still punishes softness in men, Mason's quiet fluidity feels like a revolution. Maybe he's straight, maybe he's questioning, maybe he's just secure enough to not care how you interpret him. Whatever the truth is, queer fans have already made their choice. Mason Gooding is one of ours, whether he knows it or not. Think Mason's energy is the definition of modern masculinity with queer undertones? Type BLUR in the comments if you love a man who doesn't need clarity to be iconic. Clarity. Some stories are told with confetti and headlines, others with silence, softness, and 1,000 unanswered questions. These 5 stars may never confirm a thing, and honestly, that's okay. Because what they've already given us is real, a reflection, a feeling, a flicker of possibility. In a world obsessed with labels, sometimes the most radical thing is to leave things undefined. And for the queer community, even quiet visibility can mean everything. Which of these stars do you think might step into their truth soon, or already have in their own way? Drop your favorite below and type almost if you love a mystery wrapped in a vibe. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned. Because here at Rainbow Spotlight, we see the signs, and we're watching with love.